everyone, I'm Elizabeth Newsom and welcome to my booktube channel. Well, February is just around the corner, so I figured that before January is completely over, I should make some sort of video about some of my favorite books from 2017. So for this video, I'll have 5 of my favorite fiction books and 5 of my favorite nonfiction books. With that said, here are my top 10 favorite books of 2017. So one of my favorite nonfiction books I read in the past year was The Tribute by Dennis Rainey. And what The Tribute is about is just kind of honoring your parents, and the target audience for this book is mainly adults, and how adults can make some sort of tribute for their parents, thanking them for all that they've done for them previously. But even though I'm not really in the targeted age group, I found this book really, really helpful, and I read it at a time where I absolutely needed to hear what it had to say. So thanks to this book, I've written each of my parents a letter just sharing kind of some of my favorite memories for them and recognizing everything that they've done for me. My next nonfiction book would be The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane. I think I first listened to the audiobook of this when I was like 15 or 16, and I really liked it, so later I bought the physical copy just so I could reread it all again. And the subtitle of the book reads, How Anyone Can Master the Art and Science of Personal Magnetism. And I love the cover because it's just super creative and it fits with the book perfectly. See, it's a chicken with peacock feathers. So a lot of the tips in this book are about body language, eye contact, empathy, and I know it's made a huge difference in how I interact with people. After reading this book, it feels like I make connections with people a lot more quickly than I used to. And as an added plus, I feel a lot less socially awkward. My next nonfiction book would be The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle. So I've talked about this a little in a previous video. Essentially what the talent code is about is how talent is earned rather than randomly gifted to people. So I just loved the theory behind this book and the psychology, and kind of just the whole message in general about how if you work hard enough for something, you can achieve it. Then one of my all-time favorite nonfiction books is Just Listen by Mark Goulston. I do actually have a physical copy of the book, but I'm currently loaning it to someone. So it does have some things in common with the charisma myth, but instead of kind of giving this broad range of ideas for how to interact with people effectively, it goes really in depth of just how to listen more effectively. I feel like it's really easy to talk more than we listen. And even when we're not talking, sometimes I feel like we're just hearing instead of actually listening to someone. And because I've learned how to be a better listener, I feel like I've become a better communicator. So this book right here is not just one of my favorite nonfiction books of 2017, but one of my favorite nonfiction books ever. And then finally there's Haunted Hearts, The Life and Times of Stephen King by Lisa Rogak. And I really enjoyed it just because it gave me an idea of what his life was like and how long it can take to develop your writing and how long it takes people to recognize that ability. And it also shows that being famous isn't all glamour and awesomeness. So if you're interested in becoming a writer, or if you're just interested in gaining more life experience than your age allows for, then I definitely pick up this book. Now for the fun stuff, the fiction. So my first choice is one of the last books I read in 2017, and that's Wintersong by Jae-Jones. So Wintersong is about this German girl who becomes this Goblin King's bride. But the book is so much more than that simple concept. Like, I really love the romance and the overall theme of the book about how love is sacrifice, because I feel like with a lot of modern romance books, it's easy to focus on more of the passion aspect, and this definitely has that in there, like after they're married and stuff. But the overall message is just about how love is doing something for someone even if you don't get anything in return, which is just spot on. And because of the message and the writing style and the romance, I just loved this book. My next fiction book is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So initially this book didn't look that interesting to me. It's about this heist and these 6 people who are breaking into this place called the Ice Court. But I'd seen this book referred to on BookTube a lot of times, so I decided to give it a go. And I ended up adoring the world building, the writing style, the characters. I was just completely immersed in the story. With that said, I probably won't read the next books in the series, just because there was a particular relationship in the book where there's a minor romance thing going on between 2 guys. But overall, if that's not an issue for you, I'm sure you'd like it just fine. Then there's The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I know I've talked about this book before too, so I'll try to keep the explanation really brief. In this book, especially the first half, we're given about 5 POVs. The The first is about this girl who's run away to escape this arranged marriage to this prince. The second is the prince. The third is the assassin after her. And then the fourth and fifth are these extra two POVs are actually the prince and the assassin. Instead of the chapter title saying this is the prince and this is the assassin, we're given their actual names and their interactions with this girl. So a lot of the first part of the story spent kind of figuring out like who's the assassin and who's the prince, and whether or not the assassin will end up killing her. Then there's The Redeeming by Tamara Leigh, who I consider to be like the queen of medieval romance. And The Redeeming is one of the books in the Age of Faith series, but I think it covers enough detail where you can read it as a standalone if you want to. And I've read like every single one of Tamara Leigh's books, but I have to say that this is one of my favorite just because it's so sweet. And the main theme about this book is kind of forgiveness. The heroine in this book has actually slept with a knight before she gets married to the guy she's betrothed to. So it's just kind of a really great example of what love looks like. And then finally there's Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is probably the only tragic book of the fiction books I've chosen. Tragic stories are really hard for me to read, and they make me cry a lot, as this one definitely did. But the writing style and the story were so beautiful, and it had a really good message as well. So as you guys probably know, it's about the Queen of Hearts and how she becomes the Queen of Hearts. And at the beginning of this book, she's just this really sweet girl who has these dreams and ambitions. And then she meets this mysterious and handsome court jester. And their relationship develops throughout the book. And it's really sweet, but also really passionate. And I don't want to spoil anything, but the ending is just heartbreaking. But at the same time, it also made an excellent point about how who we become is kind of based on the choices we've made up until that point. The things that happen toward the end of this book are sad, and I do feel bad for her. But ultimately, what happened was her choice. Well, those are my top 10 books of 2017. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you would, tell me in the comments section what are some of your favorite books that you read in 2017. Let me know down below, and I will see you next time.